Hey everyone, so this week's homework is on culture shock. The first question of it was, if you were dropped into American culture without any pre-knowledge about it, what would you think about American society if you had only our entertainment as a media reference? Um, I said that if I were to be dropped into American culture without any prior knowledge of the customs and whatnot here, um, and only with what I saw in the entertainment media, the first thing I would think is that the culture is very violent. When it comes to um, media these days, like for example movies, all you see is violence. It's all about who shoots who, who's the killer. I mean, not all the movies are about shooting, but the more popular genre these days, it has to be movies with action, like with bombs and etc. and guns. Um, Now, then there's also the news that people can watch and see that the coverage includes car accidents, more shootings, and the war that our country is currently in. I would also think that American society had a lot of economical and political issues based on what I saw on our entertainment media. I would also think this because not only with the newspapers, but with the news on channels like Fox and ABC and all the rest of the news channels, there are always reports on how much debt the economy is in and if our current president can like get us out of this whole thing. Another thing that I would think would be that what other countries do think sometimes, and that might be that we might not always make the smartest moves. When I say other countries, I mean examples like such as Europe. And I know this because when I went to like Italy and Spain, they kind of like laughed at us and didn't take us too seriously because we're Americans. Um, I would think this too if I saw like some of the stuff that we have on entertainment media because of the comedy movies that I have seen. I know that they're supposed to be funny, but I know that movies like Jackass, for example, isn't the best representation of American culture. They pull funny but absurd stunts, like setting things on fire and even supergluing people to each other. Like, to us in our American culture now, it's funny, but to other people in other countries, probably just like, why are they doing that? That's totally pointless. We would never do that, and that's why they come here, or if we go anywhere else, they laugh at us and don't take us seriously. So yeah, if I were to be dropped into the American culture, I would think that it was violent, in economic and political turmoil, and a joke because of the media. The next question was, as you view American culture and our technology, in what ways would you say culture and technology impact relationships of all types? Well, if I were to view American culture and technology, I would say that they definitely go hand in hand in practically all types of relationships. The reason for this would be that everywhere you look, someone is always using some form of technology. Um, People in American culture spend hours a day on the computer, especially the people that are my age and that are on all night. If I were dropped into this culture, I would be the only that wouldn't be the only thing that I would notice, though. I would also go by the fact that people are always on their phones. They're always on their smartphones, sending emails, checking text messages, listening to music, etc. I'm one of those people. Then, just like I said, with listening to music, people always have their headphones in their ears, so that could definitely be an example. And people share music, so it's a good way for them to communicate. Between the phones, the computers, the iPads, all that stuff, I would see that this impacts relationships because they all enable people in the American culture not only to be entertained, but to be able to communicate with each other. People are always emailing, texting each other for things like when they're getting to parties, getting to work, about projects for work and school, and just meeting up, all that stuff. I would notice that technology can practically build up all relationships and make communicating when we are not with each other possible. It also brings us together in a way. I would also notice, though, that relationships could possibly fall apart without technology as I viewed American culture. For example, like when a phone runs out of batteries, not only is it a distress to the person, but without a phone that works, people don't always know how to communicate too well with each other in person. I would definitely see this vary from person to person depending on like who I talked to or who I saw. But some people would feel lost and unable to even create a relationship without technology involved. The last part of the homework was to reflect on what I learned in the Common 105 class this semester by drawing a final conclusion and referring to some of the topics that we learned about. So reflecting on what I learned in Common 105 this semester, a final conclusion that I could draw from all the topics presented was that media is not only there to entertain us and keep us informed, but that we would be lost without it. because it impacts our lives, thoughts, and views on things 24/7. Or at least now it would, because we've had it for so long, but if it just disappeared, we'd be totally lost. An example that we learned about in class that can support this would definitely be like media framing. Media framing, as we discussed, is like when the 8 mass media present stories that frame the reality that they want the public or us to believe. We not only learn from media framing, but the fact that it shows us certain things while possibly excluding other things tells me that all of us today might not know the whole story of everything that's going on around us. This impacts our thoughts because we may be led to believe something that is either totally right or totally wrong, depending on the sources that we get it from. This also causes a difference in views and opinions among all of us because of the fact that we all may see or hear different things. Now, another subject that makes me believe that we would be lost without the media are the topics of the types of media media bias that we covered in class. For example, partisan bias impacts our views because it is when a cause is deliberately promoted. This impacts our thoughts and views because it promotes or causes things like, for example, if we looked on the news during the presidential election, depending on what the channel was that you watched, your vote for who could win, or who you wanted to win, could have been swayed. This could have happened because each of the news channels showed media bias on their political views, whether they intended to or not, just like we discussed in class as well. Some favored Romney, while others favored Obama, so depending on which one you watched, your vote could have been influenced, even if you were being kept updated on current events in America.